Right, good evening and welcome to the Amateur TV Net, which is held every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. through VK3RTV. I'm Neil, VK3BCU. Stations that have checked in earlier: Bob VK3BVR, Richard VK3VRS, Ian VK3QL, and that's it. Stations transmitting this evening will be myself, of course, Net Controller, Peter VK3BFG, Peter VK3TTF and Clint VK3CSJ. So we'll be crossing across to Peter very shortly on RTV1. I see Peter's logo is already up. So you get ready, Peter. I'll be switching across to yourself, and then you can put it across to Peter across to Clint, and then back to me. So you can watch the net through a set-top box, which are very cheap, also with a vertically polarised UHF antenna, or Ian's YouTube feed, Richard VK3VRS's YouTube feed and Discord, and of course the BATC feed, so no excuse not to watch the net. So Peter, if you're ready, we'll switch across to Peter, so please stand by for Peter on RTV1.
Thanks, Neil. Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter, VK3BFG, in sort of sunny Wanturna South. Tonight I'd like to congratulate Phil, VK3GMZ, who's worked over time to get his signal into RTV. He lives in Wurriyalock, and I've seen him fairly regularly just of late. So he's been able to get his system going, and it's a credit to him. And equally to Peter 3TTF also, who's going to be up after me tonight. Pete lives in Monbulk and basically has the same same problem as Phil. Mount Dandenong's in the way. So they're shooting the signal across the top of Mount Dandenong using knife-edge diffraction. And Peter's been seen fairly regularly, and I'm sure you'll be seeing Phil occasionally as well, via the same mechanism. So there it is. It's just one of those things. You can never be sure whether you're going to make it to a certain destination or not, and there are phenomena that assists radio communications, basically reflection, refraction, diffraction, and refraction. So all of those mechanisms are available to us. Anyway, that's really good. I did mention last week there's a new band plan in the planning stage. The draft has pretty well been circulated through the WA committee. That would have to go to the WA Council for ratification. For us, it'll be just a minor change down the bottom frequencies. The top frequencies probably will be able to stay pretty much as they are. And we're all aware that we're working under the umbrella of being a secondary service, and therefore everyone should be using the minimum power necessary to get into the system. And that will vary depending on who you are. So I'm just running, I think I'm running about 500 milliwatts at the moment. And others will have to run substantially more. But we are point to point, and the chances of actually creating interference is not that great unless you live right next door to a satellite earth station, which happened in Germany with a repeater there. So that was the start of problems. Some good news also tonight: the DATV QSO party, which is going to be on August the 30th. That's a Saturday for us. Pretty much everyone that we have had in the past is likely to be participating. So that means for those people that haven't seen the DATV QSO party before, we start around about 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, which Friday night over there in the US, and we start in Ohio, which is more or less Central America, with ARC and WR8 RMC. And then we move over to Bill, AB0MY in Boulder, Colorado, and then to Roland KC6JPG in Los Angeles via his very extensive network. Then in the evening, maybe starting around about 7 p.m, hopefully we'll be via the Q0100 satellite again, and we're working to make that happen, and we're hopeful that Martin Charman will be able to anchor that one as he did very well last year. Also like to thank Rob, VK3IE, for some very nice graphics that I've got on my PC now that we'll use as time goes on to just remind people that the QSO party is on. And look, if you're not going to be available, if you could just make a snippet of a video and send it to me or to Neil or to Richard, so you could send it to 3BCU or 3BRS or myself, and we'll be able to slot that in to the QSO party at various times. So no excuses now. If you're not able to actually make the times, we'll make a short video, and hopefully it'll work out pretty well. I did notice over the last week that RTV activity's been modestly low. Admittedly, I'm not looking at it 24/7, and probably others aren't either. But I guess it's just one of those things. There's ebbs and flows with systems. And of course, the DATV QSO party usually exhausts us all, and we need a break after that. So that's one of those things. Okay, I've got a short video. I made it today because I know there are some new watchers, and some of you have seen this one before. But I just nicked up to Mount View, which is in Glen Waverley. It's actually the Mount View Reservoir. That's where the Mount View name comes from. It's the Mount View Reservoir, which is a part of Melbourne Water, and it's a service reservoir up there in Glen Waverley, right next to the Police Academy. So I just made some new video shots there, and I stuck it together very, very quickly this afternoon. So Peter, as soon as that video has finished, you can run your transmitter. In fact, halfway through the video if you like. It won't affect me at all, I think. But it'll mean that it'll be a smooth takeover, because I'll be on 1246. I moved across to 1246, although I think you might be on 1255. Never mind. You're on after me, so whatever. All right then, we'll just go to that video. Stand by. We are at the Mount View Reservoir in Glen Waverley, and this is the site of the Melbourne ATV repeater VK3RTV, and we're looking at the tower that holds the repeater antennas. Right at the very top is the vertical array, which is the transmit antenna, very nicely positioned. The transmit frequency for VK3RTV is 445.5 MHz, DVB-T2. These are dual quads, and you can see the northeast array there facing us, and you can also see the southeast and the westerly one around the corner. Can't see the southwesterly one in this view. I'm inside the shack now and looking at the very top of the rack. And we'll just scan down slowly. Right up the top of the rack now, standing on a ladder, and that black box there has a relay in it and has the capability of switching the power directly off RTV, so we can recycle or close down remotely. You can see a Raspberry Pi just there in the background, and these boxes here are the HDMI interfaces. Each receiver has a preamp, and in this case it's fed through a bias tee for DC isolation, and then it goes up to this metal box here, which is a 3 dB coupler. One port of the coupler goes to the satellite port of the receiver, and the other side goes to the input of the down converter, and then the output of the down converter goes to the domestic port of the combo receiver. Now if you watch the dial, you'll see that the receivers are polling between input 1 and input 2. Input 1 is, in this case, will be 1255 dBs, and then input 2 will be the down converted DVT signal. So all of the receivers are polling between their DVBS receiver and their domestic receiver fed from a down converter. Down the bottom here we have a couple of small monitors, and they're just displaying the input signals should they be there. We don't have any at the moment. Then we have a controller. In this case it's RTV1 controller. In the middle there we have a media player, which is controlled by RTV1 controller, although it could be controlled from RTV2 controller. Both controllers are really configured the same, but RTV1 is configured as the master. Should that one fail, we can configure RTV2 controller as the master. So underneath that we've got our SR systems, multiplex DVB-T2 exciter, and in there is a small PA. The next panel down is the PA controller, the main PA, and we've got temperature, VSWR, and high voltage protection on the main PA. And underneath that, inside there is a driver, which is just a standard Mitsubishi module, and then we have the main FET PA. Both are sitting on the same heatsink, but they're just joined together very conveniently. In the previous iteration, we had a separate unit for that, which took up a fair bit of space and was really unnecessary. Directly underneath that, we've got Chanchichu fans, which feed directly up into the heatsink of the PA. And then underneath that, we've got the power supply for the controllers and also for the penultimate driver, which is in with the main PA. And then right down the bottom here, we have the 50-volt supply for the main PA. Over here we have a small workbench, which can be handy, and up on the wall we have a monitor. RTV is now keyed on locally. What we can see the LCD screen there, and up on the monitor there we have what's being transmitted at the moment. So it's a very quick, very TV.
All right. Afternoon, evening, whatever time it is that you're watching. Stephen, it's been a couple of months since I've been transmitting. A few things, I've got a few projects and bits and pieces. It was good catching up with everyone, I think almost 3 weeks ago now at the ATV meetup. Didn't have a chance to catch up with everyone, so next time could we do it for longer or multiple days or overnight or something like that? That would be really good. Had so much to talk about. Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a mix-up tonight. TTF and TLF. TLF is the one up in the hills and they're in Knife Edge. I'm TTF. I'm just based in Keysborough, about 12 k's, I think, south of the repeater. So a little bit easier for me to get in. I don't have to go to quite as much effort. So a quick little one just before this transmission. I was actually playing with my modulator and it automatically selects the bandwidth that it encodes. So obviously it's T2, so MPEG-4. And I actually gave it a test and I actually changed it down. It was choosing about 6 megabit for the stream. I pulled it down to about 5 and it's actually a lot cleaner and smoother. So whatever algorithms it was using to actually choose that, it's obviously choosing it a bit high. And that's actually, I think, hopefully making my video a little bit better. We'll see how that goes. Otherwise tonight, got a couple of things to go through. I was actually in the audience of a TV show, so I'm just going to show some pictures. I was allowed to take photos in the studio, not while they were recording, but I've got a few studio pictures and things that might interest me. An update on the RGL Anarchy repeater for everyone, and just a couple of other little quick snippets and blog bits and pieces I've done for everyone. So hopefully that interests everyone. So we'll just flick over to the first. My audio. Was my audio off the whole time? Wow, okay, I will go back and start again, actually. Sorry about that, everyone. We will flick back. Yeah, so it's been a couple of months since my last transmission. When I was playing... Oh, hang on. Only no audio whilst I was playing the slideshow. There we go. That's better. I need to move my audio meters so they're actually in front of me so I can actually look at them. So yeah, ABC Studio in Southbank, Melbourne. The dishes on the roof look a bit dirty. I'm not sure if they're used. They're probably just backups now, so they don't get a lot of love and affection. That's the actual studios, the offices. I think they've been there 25, 30 years or something like that now, so not totally new. This is the newsroom, so as you're actually waiting in the foyer, you actually get to see into the newsroom. I was actually that evening, so they're actually broadcasting the news just after I think I took this photo. But there's a few cameras in there. Up the back is where they do special crosses, when there might be a live action thing or whatever they're doing. And on the left there you can see that's the normal news desk. And the camera that's set up that you can see in front of the news desk, it's all unmanned. So it moves in and out and around and does its things all automatically. So a bit differently than they did it 30 or 40 years ago. This is as you're walking towards the studios. This is in, I think it's after security now. They've got this little setup so you can see some of the historic items that they were using. Some interesting things there. The cameras are changed a little bit since then, that's for sure. So, and they've obviously got a light up the top right there, you can see. I don't know if that actually goes on air when the news is broadcast or anything, or it's just a prop. So, and this is a studio, so I actually got to go and see Spicks and Specs. Obviously, kind of gives it away in the picture there. But this is a studio, so it hasn't really changed a lot since I've been to quite a few other things in studio audiences over the years. It's all pretty much the same setup. All the rig, I think I've got another photo of the roof rig for everyone to have a look at because we're all technical and we want to see all the cool lights and stuff like that. We actually had, I don't know if you know, he does a bit of work on the ABC as well. Ben Lomas there, he was actually doing our crowd warm-up on the night as well, so that was a bit interesting. Couple of cameras and bits and pieces there as well. Band obviously over to the right, off to the side. Yeah, so lighting rig, it looks like they got little panels. They have 2 circuit breakers on each panel, so they can obviously find and address each piece individually for different workloads that they use up there. A couple of monitors and the speakers. They had no overhead speakers. I know the old GTV9 actually had speakers overhead. All the speakers were actually underneath the seats for us to hear what was actually going on the stage, which was interesting. So just much easier for them to isolate the sound in their mix, obviously. And yeah, there's a bit of a closer up of the overheads. So if anyone's interested in having a look at that one. And the cameras, I think, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Uniel that put something up 2 or 3 weeks ago at the BBC. And how the cameras are lens and the actual camera and the viewfinder, well, they really haven't changed. So you can still see there that the viewfinders are a separate piece that are attached to the top. They've got the main camera and the lens chassis off the top as well, off the front. So anyway, that was a couple of bits and pieces there. I will just flick back to me for a second. And one little piece, I don't know if anyone watches Spicks and Specs or anything like that, but I actually got to take one of the question cards. So this episode went to air, I think, almost 3 weeks ago. This was the one that Meg Washington and Meg Mack. And this is actually Meg's songs that she had to sing during the episode. So that was actually cool, being able to take one of those cards. And obviously Adam's scoring on there as well, which was kind of cool. My next little bit, what have we got? RGL update. Let's go into that. So for those... There we go. I need to fix my audio switching when I switch scenes. So for those who are at the ATV meetup a couple of weeks ago, you'll have seen this update. So if you haven't been up to date with the RGL anti-key repeater, it's been in the making for quite some time, but it looks like things are starting to come together. So things like bandpass filters are there, looking at the GPS locked reference, and amplifier and things like that. So if you want to stay up to date on that, I do recommend joining the amateur television Discord. I'm posting updates and trying to get some more information about what's going on. I'm posting it on there. You'll also see, I'll just flick to this one, that when I cut it, yes, my audio's still here, yes. Rob's actually posted some down converters on Discord to go from 2.4 gig down to channel 51 690 meg that can fit in some sort of dish parabolic thing that you might already have, hopefully. So if you're interested in any of those, definitely jump on Discord there and drop him a line, and that might be interesting even for other microwave people or any other ATV things you might be doing. That could be a very interesting down converter. Looks like it's all just in the single enclosure, really easy to mount to a dish. So definitely jump on Discord, take that if you're not a member. Worth jumping onto with all the channels and things we've got. So my last one I wanted to just chuck over to everyone was a little bit of a blog I did during the week. So as part of RTV, we obviously use DTMF codes for some of the features and getting our signal strength reports. I just did a little blog on actually how to create a WAV file, which just already has some of those already done for you. So if you're using things like vMix, you can just chuck the audio file into vMix and just click on it to play. Instead of trying to find DTMF encoders and all sorts of bits and pieces, it's just a simple file you can play. So if you want to get that blog, go there and have a look, and you can find out how to do it. It's all really, really simple. Pretty much everything you need to know is actually on the screen right now, but it just takes you through the process if you haven't done it before, just to make it really easy. So that's back to me for the last couple of bits. I had one bit of housekeeping. I know we did some work on the BATC streaming a few weeks ago. I did notice I gave it a test and it's actually overscanning, so it's cutting off the edge at the moment. I'm not sure if that's a setting on what we're doing or the actual BATC streamer, but it might be worth looking at, because if anyone's got, like I do, I've got my little call sign down the corner. That was actually getting mostly cut off due to the overscan, so that would be good just to maybe work out so people get the full 1920 by 1080 experience. And Peter, if you do have some marketing material, some images and bits and pieces to do with the QSO party, it'd be great to grab those. We can chuck them up on Discord and our ATV Facebook group, and just try and spread the word a little bit about what we're doing, just to get a bit more hopeful audience and get some interest in what we're doing as well. So that's all I had for tonight. So I think next is Clint, VK3CSJ. So I'll just go over to my farewell card and catch you all next time.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to television. All right, I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I just thought I'd pop up and say good evening, and trust that everybody is well, and can't wait to get out of this winter time. It's just as you older you get, the colder you feel about things. So I can understand why people head north during winter, I think. Anyway, the first thing I just want to say is that I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to get to the ATV get-together a few weeks ago. I thought it was the date was sometime in August. It wasn't until Pete made the reference last week, I think, about the ATV get together, and I thought, oh, it's already happened. Oh, I missed it. So, I had plans to head across, even if it was just going to be for 5 minutes, just to pop in and pop out. But I even bought this T-shirt, this nerdy looking T-shirt. I thought that'd be a great thing to wear to the ATV thing. So this is the first time I've basically worn it on air anyway. So is it nerdy? I should have put the call sign up there. But anyway, maybe next year. So I was actually thinking that probably a luncheon at some place, RSL pub or whatever, maybe we can all get together for lunch on a weekend. That's just an idea. I'm not going to do anything about it. All right. Probably the only other thing I can bring up, I think we've all heard of the fairly large earthquake that occurred off the east coast of Russia up there a week or so ago. And I have a seismometer. I'm a little bit interested in amateur seismology, and I've got a little seismometer that sits just on the concrete floor here. It's not buried in the ground or anything like that. It's just sitting on the floor of the barn. But very soon I will get it into the ground because unfortunately just walking around here is enough to upset it, particularly with the 3 cats that I've got. They love to skirt around it, and that really upsets it. But the earthquake, I think it was around 11:24 on Wednesday morning, and this is pretty much what I saw here. So that was magnitude 8.8 or 8.6, I think it was settled down to. But each line there represents 60 minutes. That is, every horizontal line, that trace is a 60-minute period. So the earthquake came through here at around 11:38 in the morning. Like I said, it struck at 11:24. And we detected it at 11:38 here in Melbourne, and so it was pretty enormous. Look at that displacement there on the chart. It's amazing, really is amazing how that really hit here. You'd think that something that magnitude, you sort of sit in your chair and you think, can you feel that? These are very subtle vibrations. If you were, of course, in the vicinity, you'd certainly have felt it. But what is interesting, this main, the really deep blue area is the P wave, primary wave, and then for the next hour and a bit is the S wave. This constant ringing of the Earth is just goes on for over 60 minutes, and it just kept going and going and going. I mean, I was at work when this was happening. If I had been here seeing this in real time, I would have been over the moon. But it really is amazing when you get a powerful earthquake that how the shockwave just goes around the whole world. And you can see my little black pussycat there. They're all, I haven't fed the cats yet, so they're on me for feeding them. With this particular program called Amasys, you can extract just the information that you see on the screen, so you end up getting something like this. So that's the entire earthquake from beginning to when it petered out, about an hour and a half or something like that. So yeah, it's quite significant event. And what I like is the first 2 little shocks before the main earthquake. So you can see something gave just prior to the main earthquake starting. So a little bit of a prelude there at the beginning. But yeah, really fascinating stuff. This is the seismometer that I use. It's just in a little Eddystone box, and it's by a company called Infiltech. and they make these amateur devices. You can, I think they have it as a kit form, but or you can get the fellow to build it up. I think actually they have it already pre-built. Actually, make sure that it's all working okay. You've got all the information there on the top of the lid of the Eddystone box to how things should be set up, and then you use a program called Amasys to be able to monitor your activity. What else? You can set it so that its sensitivity is focused more on local earthquakes, and you'll still see overseas earthquakes, or you can set the sensitivity so that it's sort of primed for big mother earthquakes around the world. I often see large earthquakes, in the vicinity of magnitude 5.5 to 6, certainly anything greater, 10,000 kilometres away can be detected. But I find that there's a bit of a limit to the really weak earthquakes, tremors perhaps, magnitude 2. Unless it's really local, magnitude 2 earthquakes I don't really see too well. But I think when I get this device in the ground, where it's isolated from all other vibrations and noises around the place, it'll perform better once it's actually in the earth, in an appropriate box, of course. That's the inside of it, so you can see how simple it really is. That's the little cylinder-shaped thing is the geophone, and they're particularly resonant at very, very low frequencies in the hertz range. And in fact, there's a spec on that last. Somewhere up there, there's a spec that tells you what it is. It's around about 4 hertz or something like that, I think, or 0.04 hertz. It's in that region there, anyway. But that's the inside of it. It's very, very simple, and you've got the RS-232 comms port, which you'd use a little converter to go to a USB on your computer. So that's just currently sitting on the floor of the barn, and like I say, you can see this magnificent earthquake. There's also another thing I'm getting a bit interested in. It's called Global Quake, and this is actually the YouTube live stream of Global Quake. And somebody, I'm not sure who it is, but somebody's just running a live stream 24/7 from Global Quake. And what it is that people in the network have just set up a Raspberry Pi type a seismometer or some variation of, and it's all connected to a network and to a server, common server. And whenever there's an earthquake, it just goes straight to it. So each time, like at the moment, it says no earthquakes detected, but it keeps oscillating around the most common earthquake activity that's occurring right now. And you can see there how the sensors are flashing. So if the sensors or detectors are actually detecting something, they'll indicate on the screen what's going on. And then you've got also a chart at the bottom of the screen. So you can select any of those detectors to get its own individual chart that's running 24/7. So this is a live, online, worldwide earthquake sensing program, and it really is quite interesting to watch. If an earthquake occurs, it sends out the algorithms in the program send out a concentric circle that emanates outwards from the earthquake, and it is in real time. This is indicating the pressure wave as it's travelling across the surface of the Earth. And I've sat here, and I still remember the first time I watched this happen, as the P wave was slowly coming across to Melbourne. I was looking at my real-time seismometer here in the barn, and as the pressure wave went over Melbourne, coming down to here in Narre Warren, all of a sudden the seismometer here in the barn started to register. And I thought, wow, how about that? Their algorithms are working very well. So most, if not all the earthquakes that this worldwide global quake system detects, they all produce a concentric circle that emanates out from the epicenter. And if it's a significant earthquake, like the 8.8 magnitude off Russia there, the circle will just continue to go out and out and out, pretty much covering the whole world, giving you an idea of the magnitude. But if there's small tremors in the earthquakes, maybe 2, 3 magnitude, the circle that is emanating outwards starts to fade. After a while, it just sort of disappears because the magnitude's not as strong. So it'd be great if there was an earthquake that would happen right now. So as I'm talking, you'd actually see it happening in real time here, but it's all a bit quiet at the moment on the home front. But yeah, that's Global Quake. You can download this program. It's actually something you can download to sit on your computer. There you are. There's an earthquake that's just happened here in California. It's not a very big earthquake. It's what is it? Magnitude 1.5. But you can see the what I mean by the circle that comes out. So as that P wave, the blue line moves out, the sensors in that area would start to pick up on the quake itself. So that's what I find really fascinating about this stuff. And I'm thinking about getting one of these Raspberry Pi systems so that I can actually become part of this network. So it'd be really, really good stuff indeed. So that's just something else that I'm mucking around here, and I think hopefully fairly soon I will be getting hold of a magnetometer. There's a magnetometer coming from a friend of mine over in Anchorage in Alaska. He's got something that he's made for me, and once that comes across, I'll organise for the magnetometer to go in the ground for temperature stability, and I'll be able to watch the changes in the Earth's magnetic field due to solar activity, due to aurora activity, and anything else that might influence the Earth's magnetic field. So that's another thing I'm interested in. And hopefully very soon I might even be putting up a cosmic muon detector, which will is in the mail coming this way. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play with that, which I'll demonstrate when it finally arrives. All right, I think that's about it. That's everything in a nutshell. So, I'll leave that till next week. So, thanks, Neil, for doing it, and I'll pop a bit back to you. So, everybody have a pleasant evening, and we'll be up on Friday night with the ASV broadcast and the WA broadcast on Sunday coming up, as I usually do. So, and once again, sorry for not missing out on the ATV get-together. I had planned to get there, but next year. Anyway, looking forward to the QSO party. That should be a bit of glee. Yeah. VK3BCU to take it. Get ready there, Neil. This is VK3CSJ in Narre Warren South on ATV. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Clint. That was really, really interesting. In fact, the whole net tonight's been great. A lot of very, very interesting stuff. So well done, guys. And thank you for all the guys that are watching on YouTube. There are about 16 currently watching, so that's fantastic. So that's it for this evening. It's been really interesting tonight. I really enjoyed tonight's net. Hopefully next week will be just as interesting. And there'll be a guest net controller next week, so I'll keep you all guessing. So next week there'll be a guest net controller, so tune in about 8 o'clock next week and see who the net controller is. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you, or I'll be watching you, but we'll see you all next week.